chance to also take a look at that if you would like. That'll be running in about 2 minutes. So hopefully all of you will either be on there chatting or on our live stream chatting. So, well, it is a time. We are now in, believe it or not, semi-finals of the joke contest. And Susan Mad Splatter Murata is just beating up the competition. She's leaving them on the floor, bloodied. Last week, Lady Macbeth Arndt did not get up from the canvas. That's how bad it was. So this week, we have Susan Mad Splatter Murata going against Ian the Hitman Klieger in a semifinal round. So I'm going to turn it over to the golden voice, Mr. David Massey, our ring master and joke master extraordinaire, to get us going.
Welcome everybody to the Joke Off. We are now in the semifinals. We will have 2 weeks of semifinals. Today we have the champion, Susan Murata, going up against the wild card, Ian Klieger. Folks, this is a tight match. There's a lot on the line. There's a trophy and maybe a $5 gift certificate from Baskin-Robbins if I can find it in my house. The stakes are high, ladies and gentlemen. We flipped a coin and the dentist is going first. Ian Klieger, give us your joke.
All right. Okay, here is my joke. What does the dentist of the year get?
I don't know, Ian. What does the dentist of the year get?
A little plaque.
Short, sweet, to the point, and professional. It's going to be tough to beat. Susan, you now have a challenge. Susan, give us your joke.
You
I
can
love
do it,
it.
Suze.
Okay, so 2 blonde Rotarians were working to beautify the streets. One would dig a hole and the other would follow behind her and fill the hole in. They worked up one side of the street and then down the other. Then they moved on to the next street, working furiously all day without rest. One blonde digging the hole, the other one filling it in. An onlooker was amazed at their hard work, but couldn't understand what they were doing. So he asked the hole digger, "I'm so impressed by the effort you 2 Rotarians are putting into your work, but I don't get it. Why do you dig a hole only to have your partner follow behind you and fill it in?" The blonde hole digger wiped her brow and sighed, "Well, I guess it probably looks a little odd. We normally are a 3-person team, but today the Rotarian who plants the trees called in sick."
Good joke. David, put that poll up and let's find out who our semifinal.
Wow. Launching the poll right now. Who won the joke contest? Was it Mad Splatter or the Hitman? Here we go. Launching poll. Put your vote in. Let's see who's moving on to the next round. Oh, it is neck and neck. It is. Oh, my goodness. We may have to toss a coin on this one.
Uh-oh.
All right. We've got 3 people that need to vote, and that could make the difference. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. We're ending it up, and here we go. Boom! The Hitman.
Oh.
The Hitman.
An upset.
Oh,
we need to see it, Dave. We need to see the display.
It's like the Kentucky Derby. The upset wins. Oh,
Dave,
my.
Put up the poll. We can't see it.
Congratulations, Ian.
There it is.
Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, Ian the Hitman Klieger has defeated Mad Splatter Murata and will be going on to the final round in 2 weeks. What an upset.
Yeah, you know, you're only making your lives more difficult because you've got to listen to me even more.
See?
Thank you, Susan. An amazing reign.
That could be the closest contest we've had yet. Yeah, awesome. All right, next week, another semifinal round, I believe, David, correct?
That's right, David. The semifinal round will be Paul Dryman versus the wild card, Michael Magnuson. Good competitors. We'll see how those boys do. The winner will face Ian Klieger.
Now, am I correct that the trophy is under lock and seal somewhere in a secret location because of its priceless value?
I think it's actually sitting on my son's desk because I had him take a picture of it. So, yeah, that's it. So,
all right, great. Thank you. All right, let's go to guest introductions. Deborah Niss is going to do the introductions today. So Deborah. Did I lose Deborah?
Sorry, I didn't get the memo.
Oh, you never got the memo. Well,
I think I was
okay.
supposed to get it from Karen, but I didn't get it.
Okay, well, Karen can do the introductions because I'm sure she's all on top of it.
I am on top of it. And no, I'm not in charge of deciding who does it. Sorry, Deborah. To my knowledge, the only guest that we have so far anyway is Mike and Diane Hebert, although I just see Mike right now. Welcome, Mike.
Hey,
I do see that our speaker is here, but I'll let you go ahead and introduce when that comes time. So I don't see anybody else. If I'm missing somebody, oh, I see Barbara Massey. Hi, Barbara. So we do have you. Thank you for joining us. Anybody else raise your hand that if I've overlooked you?
Since Chris is now charging me, am I still considered a guest?
Yes.
You're always a Rotarian in our heart.
You are a Rotarian forever in our club, for sure, Mike. Anyway, welcome to you from upstate New York and to Barbara from Thousand Oaks. So thanks for joining us today. Back to you.
Thank you, Karen. All right, we're going to go to Chris Lamia, who has inspirational moment and our pledge. So Chris, unmute.
Okay, so I have a couple of brief quotes on having dreams and implementing them. The first one says, if you have built castles in the air, your work need not be lost. That is where they should be. Now put foundations under them. And that was Henry David Thoreau. The next one was, we are all faced with a series of great opportunities, brilliantly disguised as insolvable problems. That's John Gardner. And then lastly, in Latin, author unknown, illegitimi non carborundum, which is don't let the bastards get you down. So please join me in the pledge. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, under God, with liberty and justice for all. I think I gave you the dyslexic version, but it worked.
All right. Thank you, Chris, very much. All right, song today is provided by Mr. Fred Lindbergh, and here we go. All right. Thank you, Fred, for pulling that up for us. Now I'm gonna turn it over to Michelle, and she is going to introduce the next segment of our program. So Michelle.
Hi. So the vocation committee is having an occasional What I Do segment. And this time we're going to be talking to Deborah Niss, and she's going to be telling us a little bit about herself. So Deborah, take it away.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Actually, it's Deborah Niss, and it looks like KISS because it starts with a K. There you go. I guess first of all, Norm Luke was my sponsor to the Newbury Park Club in the early 90s. And then I moved to the Thousand Oaks Club. I guess it was probably probably 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago now. So how I ended up in our community, 1969, moved here from Pasadena. I just was starting high school and thought my life had ended. We were driving out here on the 101 and I'm looking at all these signs, 15 miles ahead, there's life. And I thought, oh, my life has ended. But it turns out that it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. I just became into my own at that point. I'm extremely independent. And I would have to say a lot of that has to do with growing up here in town. My mom worked for Tex Ward at the Park District, and he's so brilliant. And I saw how our community developed around his leadership. My brother worked for the Park District as well. I just went out and played with the bobcats in the hills and did a lot of hiking and went to Newbury Park High School, graduated, started with Cal Lu, and I became a tax accountant at Arthur Andersen. And so my first job was downtown LA, passed the CPA exam, was there for a few years and realized, no, this is not what I want to do. I started investing in real estate, and I think, I had done so many different things in regards to with the financial background and everything. So I started my own business. And again, I think it's mainly because I'm so independent that I realized I was never going to be able to work for anybody else. And started my own corporation. I've been affiliated with RE/MAX for 30 some years and do speaking engagements across the nation. I have created education for realtors. And I've also I work a lot with seniors. In the early 90s, I developed with my partner back then, who has unfortunately died. But we created the first seniors real estate specialist education. And that designation was purchased by the National Association of Realtors. So I really enjoy working with seniors, and that's a large part of my business. But currently right now I have, a young couple purchasing. I have, unfortunately, a divorce situation. Seniors moving into retirement community. So it does span the gamut. And so that's kind of how I ended up doing this. And I thought I'd just leave some questions because I could drone on, but I have a feeling a lot of people, first question is, what's going on in the market? So I don't know, I can open it up for a couple minutes if anybody wants to have my view on things.
Deborah, why don't you tell us what's going on in the market? That's a good idea. Everybody's interested.
Yeah, again, I guess I've probably been through 4 or 5 recessions at this point. But I knew from the beginning in March that we were definitely going to have pent up demand just because they had shut the market down for 6 weeks. And sure enough, right now, the market we have just huge pent up demand. But there's also other things that I see going on in the marketplace in regards to what's happening with the banks. Actually, they're very healthy right now, and they were going into this, but there are going to be people that will not have jobs after this in regards to COVID. So it's not, in my view, it'd be politically incorrect to start immediate foreclosures on these people. So that's why they have forbearance right now. And again, I would encourage people to negotiate with their banks, because I would be looking at trying to get 6 months put on the end of a loan. And so they're restructuring a lot of loans right now. But I think at some point, and this is going to be what's going to, and it's going to end up, I calculate from the end of April, that puts us into November, December, seeing what will be happening with the people that no longer have jobs. Our small businesses, unfortunately, are really hurting right now. They have not been able to open up, and it's just really difficult through no fault of their own. And it's more than just restaurants. It's just everyday people, that your entrepreneurs that put everything on the line and just can't get back to it. So it'll be interesting to see how this all pans out. But if we have people getting back to work, if, in my opinion too, kids get back to school, that allows more people to get back, the parents to get back to work. So I'll be watching how that all comes about. And well, I think the rubber's going to meet the road probably in November, December because of that.
Thank you very, very much. And stay tuned. In a few weeks, or probably 6 weeks or so, we'll have another What I Do segment.
Great. Thank you, Deborah, for sharing. Greatly appreciate that. Let's go to Ian Klieger to give us a fine session today. Where is Ian? There
Right
he
here,
is.
sorry, right here. I'm gonna share my
wait a minute.
screen.
What happened to the background?
Well, someone was calling me out about Freddie Mercury, so there's me dressed as Freddie Mercury.
There you go. Awesome.
Okay, let me share my screen and we will start the fine session. Okay, so my fine session, everyone, was or is a best of kind of thing. So I took from all the fine sessions that I've had, I took the best of what I could find. So clearly this is going to be very short. So we will start. Let me see if I can. Okay. So do you guys remember when Beth Pratt came in and she was talking about the cougars that live up in Los Feliz and wildlife overpasses? So my question to, let's see. How about you, Greg? Greg Kigsnerick. My question to you, my friend, is, do you remember the name of the cougar that lives in Los Feliz?
I'm going to say P45.
P45. Well, I have to tell you you're wrong, but really, isn't the answer obvious? There's the only cougar that we know.
My bad.
That's all right. All right, so this next one, let's do, how about you, David Harris? I like your background, so I'm picking on you, sorry. So the moon, when the moon casts a shadow, this is from another fine session that we had. So you go ahead, David, and unmute yourself. Still muted, Ben. So when the moon casts a shadow on the earth, it is called what? lunar eclipse, solar eclipse. I think you're still muted, man. Anyway, the answer is.
Okay, can you hear me now?
There you go.
All right, lunar eclipse.
Well, there you go. You're right. You have someone who agrees with you on the screen as well. All right. So this is a picture of, and let's go to Patricia Jones. Is that a picture of my last veneer case? Who cares? Because you want me to keep this slide up? Sexist and I should be in trouble, clearly. Or is that me with my shirt off?
That's definitely you.
Well, I appreciate it.
I don't know if that's your body, but.
Well, you're right. It's not. It's actually Dave's body.
There you go. There you go.
All right. So we'll only a couple more. I'll stop boring you guys. So Adam, how about you? You're right next door to Patricia on my screen. So do you recall the fine session we had about our national parks? Adam, go ahead and unmute. There you go. So
let's go with Yosemite.
Well, actually,
Whoa.
there are your answers.
Or let's go with Yellowstone.
All right, nice work. The only reason I have this up is because it's a really pretty picture, and I can't wait till we get to start traveling again. And that is what's waiting for us out in our national parks. I think this is the last one. Okay, so how about, you know what? How about you, Joel? Joel Price. Do you know what this is?
All
a
right,
picture
I'm
of?
ready. That is Moore Park Road looking north.
You are correct.
Whoa.
That is Moore Park Road. And this is, the high school is like right where
Stop
we're
it,
standing.
really?
Yeah, and way up here, that's where my office is, right there. Anyway, I think that's it.
Shameless plug.
Oh, no, I apologize. Well, yeah, clearly I'm shameless. I had to throw one of mine in, so true or false? Hader, how about you? So Hader,
Okay.
true or false? In the 1800s, blacksmiths and barbers also served as dentists.
I don't know. I don't see that black ape as a blacksmith.
I
But
thought
yeah.
they still do.
I'll say true.
Yeah, you're right. The answer, that is true. So- and that's the end. That's all I got for you guys.
All right, Ian, thank
So,
you. Love the
back to you.
pictures. Good job.
That
Let's
horse.
see. There we go. Okay. Well, fun time. Pat McCoy is, believe it or not, out having fun somewhere other than today's Rotary meeting, which is hard to believe, but he did ask for a day off. So I am running the poker chip draw for a prize. Now, to say that I did not, you know, do anything illegal here. I had Pat draw it. He has pulled up the number. I have the picture here. I'm going to pull it up and let's see if anybody is going to win. See if anybody is going to win the $15 currently at stake for being here during the meeting. And here it is. Matt Lalo. And I do not believe he's here. So we roll over to next week, and you'll be able to maybe get a Big Mac by the time we roll around next week. All right. So let's see. Where are we here? I have lost my screen. So there, what is happening here? Okay, hopefully I will get my screen back. Maybe. Are you guys seeing the screen at all?
Yeah, we see you.
See
We
you.
see you.
Screen.
Oh,
Again.
Martin,
Well,
now.
that's too bad. All right, well, I lost my screen, so I'm going to try to get it back here. Hold on. Wow.
Who found his screen?
Let's see, where
pretty
did it
bad.
go?
Dave, you always have control.
Yeah, it completely went off my screen. So I am probably going to have to log back in somehow. So I'm not sure why I got lost here. So
We can
let's
see
go.
you, Dave.
You can see me. Okay. Well, we're going to do 2 truths and a lie. So let me see if I can actually pull it up. Let's see what is happening here. Nope. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and go to announcements. So I'm going to turn it over to Dave Massey to do his first announcement.
All right, I've been
Dave,
plugging this
try-
for a
try
little
hitting
while.
your Try hitting your Alt Tab key, Dave. Alt and Tab
Alt
together.
10.
Alt and Tab.
Okay.
Hold the tab down. You should be able to see all the windows you have open.
All right, well, Dave's trying to find his way back to us. I want to talk about the coastal cleanup. If we recall, in normal times, groups would get together and go out and clean our beautiful California beaches in September. Because of COVID, that's not a smart thing for us to do. But what they've asked us to do, the organizers of Coastal Cleanup have asked us to clean our own neighborhoods that have runoff into and go to the beach. And so what I'd like to do is that we already have a group of Rotarians. I'd ask for anybody who hasn't already told me they'd like to join to either email me or, as really easy, just in the chat, say, David, sign me up for the Coastal Cleanup. It is September 26th from the morning, 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. And what I'm going to do is just assign small groups of people together. We'll go out and, and we'll be together, but within safe distance. Have you bring your own stuff, and then Jim Friel's going to help me find places in Thousand Oaks that could use a little cleaning up just to make it even that much nicer. I'll put a team captain for each group, and this way we can help Thousand Oaks be a little bit more beautiful than it already is. So shoot me in the chat. Let me know if you want to be able to come. I'm going to be bringing my daughter with me because she's really pro environment. And so if you have family members that want to join, that is a great thing to do. I'd ask you, of course, to wear masks and be as safe as possible. But this is a good way for us to get out and give some service on a beautiful September morning. So please let me know, and thank you very much. And no, Trevor, cleaning your backyard does not is the public areas that we are trying to clean up.
All right, thank you, David. And good news or bad news, depending on your perspective, I now have my screen back, so I'm back on with you. So the other announcement is fireside chats are coming up on Friday, September 25th. So if you haven't signed up yet, please do so with Bob Lewis. You can either put it in the chat room or you can email Bob. We're going to be together, all together at the start. We got a fun game activity and another great prize to be awarded during that time. Then we're going to break out into smaller groups like you're normally used to with fireside chat. So bring your favorite beverage, bring your favorite food, and spend an hour and a half with us. It'll be a really fun time. So that's coming up. So if you could please get Bob, whether you're signing up 1 or 2 or your whole family to join us, that would be great. So that's coming up. Third thing I want to say is that we have started in our bulletin our Thousand Oaks Rotary business to business section. So if you would like to put a card with a little description of your business in our bulletin each week, you need to send that over to KT. Business card, photograph, a little description of your business. It will go into the Thousand Oaks business to business section of the bulletin, so that all of us Rotarians with the Thousand Oaks Club know what everybody's doing and just have an opportunity to put that out there. We were going to do the second part of Fun Time, which is 2 truths and a lie. So I'm going to bring up Mr. Tony, who is going to tell us what, and he's going to read what the questions or what the answers are, and you have to pick the one that's a lie. So Tony, tell us what 3 answers you've put together here today.
Well, 2 truths and a lie. The first one is Maria Schreiber took me by the hand personally to introduce me to her parents, Eunice and Sergeant Schreiber. The second is Paul McCartney was lost and happened to stop me for directions. And it was an interesting conversation. And the third is that I have 6 tattoos, none of which are visible when I'm dressed. And I don't know how much you want me to expand on any or all, or
Nope, that is good. I just want to make a note of clarification that notwithstanding the last one about 6 tattoos when you're dressed, we are not going to ask you, nor will we accept a request that you show us those tattoos during the meeting. Okay.
Well, you spoiled my afternoon, but okay.
Okay, so voting goes. Let's see. Vote for the one that is the lie. You have 15 more seconds. Get those votes in. We still have a lot of people to vote yet. Pick the one that you think is a lie. 10 seconds to go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, that ends the poll. So here are the results. Everybody thinks that you having 6 tattoos visible, well, they think that's the lie. Tell us what it is, Tony.
You want to know which one the lie is? Okay.
Yeah, which one is the lie?
The lie is that I do not have 6 tattoos, but there's a short story that goes with that, is that through marriage, my son's brother-in-law is one of the most world-renowned tattoo artists. He's the one that did Lady Gaga's Rose across her back, and he's by appointment only, and he travels the world. And he's asked to do me. And I said, I have a problem with that, because as long as I don't have a tattoo, I can get one whenever I want. But if I have a tattoo and I don't like it, they're hard to get rid of.
All right, thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Chris is going to run our happy dollars right now. So Chris, over to you, unmute. You can.
Okay, so I guess we've been put in the chat if you want to do happy dollar message, and I'll call on you or wave at me. I'll try to. Can you all hear me?
Dave Friedel has a happy dollar.
Okay, Dave, unmute yourself.
Both of my kids are back at college and not in my house.
Yeah. How much? $5? Okay.
Great. Let's see. Tanya had her hand up next.
Tanya, thank you.
Unmute, Tanya. Unmute, Tanya.
Okay.
Yes.
Go for it, Tanya.
I've been driving for Meals on Wheels for about 3 months now. And once a week, I drive down Moore Park Road and I pass our club. And when I pass, I blow it a kiss and I say, I hope we'll be getting back together soon.
And how much is your happy dollars?
Oh, 5, please.
Okay. I think I saw Judy Lazar. Did you raise your hand?
I did. I have a sad 5. I thought I could follow your example, Chris, and let my hair go white. Unfortunately, every time I walk by a mirror, I think I'm looking at my mother. So I don't think it's going to stay this way.
You have to stop looking in a mirror for a while, Judy. That's
no, I
key.
keep looking at you and you look good.
Dave Massey, I believe, was up next.
David.
A happy $13. My dog Dakota, who has been with us for the last 7 years and is 13 years old, we thought he actually had a reaction to bad medication, and we took him in on Monday thinking it would be a one-way trip for him. Luckily, we found out it was most likely a medication reaction, something worse. He came home with us, and hopefully we have more time with him. So it was a very emotional day for the kids and Catherine and I, but it turned out well.
That's great. That's great. Okay, Patricia Jones, unmute yourself.
I have $5 as well. I just found out today that the Bistro Gardens restaurant in Studio City is out of business for good due to COVID. And that was one of my favorite restaurants to go to, and when I could get out of town. I rarely leave Thousand Oaks, but when I did, I'd like to go there for lunch, and it's sadly closed forever. And Judy, you look great.
Right.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I
have a few things. I have 10 happy dollars for the olive oil tasting, which was amazing. Jennifer, that was the coup. It was fabulous. And my husband ordered a bunch of olive oil, and it just came today, and it tastes as good as the stuff we tasted the other night. And then I have another $5 because I want to join you in. I do the Meals on Wheels too, and it's really rewarding. I do it twice a week, and yeah, it's great. Love the people too. That's it.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Hey, Patricia. So 50 years ago, I used to park cars at the Bistro in Beverly Hills.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that one of the guys who was one of the maitre d's there became the owner of the Bistro Gardens, if I'm not mistaken. So there you have it. A little bit of trivia.
So Jeff, is that trivia worth $100?
Sounds like it. Yeah.
You're muted, so it's going to be whatever I've
I
decided.
guess because I didn't specify, the answer is yes. Just
All
to
right,
follow,
good for you.
follow the rules.
You'll follow the rules. Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I put in for a happy dollar. We have a new project coming up, and it's for James Storehouse. So I wanted to advertise. I'm going to be talking about it later, but for everybody, if you like shopping, you'll really like this new committee and this new program. But I wanted to share, if you guys get your Bed Bath and Beyond dollars, you know, those coupons, you save them. So we're going to go shopping, and that'll help us save money. More to come, but save your Bed Bath and Beyond coupons. Thank you.
Great.
Deborah, I didn't catch how much you said.
I said $1.
$1.
Spendthrift.
Is Michael Magison, are you?
Yep. So I've got two happy dollars. One is because my son is at the University of Wisconsin, and even though they quarantined 2 dorms, his is not one of them, and he's still COVID negative after 3 different COVID tests. And the other happy dollar is, did anybody else notice Jim Friedel's haircut? I mean, is it just me, or dang? So
Oh, I saw it. I saw that. It was great.
Anyone else for happy dollars or announcements?
Okay, I think
that's
it. Yep.
All right.
Thank you, Chris, very much
you.
for that. Very great. Okay, well, it's our honor to have a very special guest here with us today, and I'm going to turn it over to our program director, Mr. Jason Corey, to tell us who's here and what we're going to experience today. So Jason, over to you.
Okay, so our speaker today really doesn't need an introduction. Her public service career began in 2004 when she was elected to the Thousand Oaks City Council. She then went on to serve 2 terms as the Thousand Oaks Mayor. She's won many awards, among them Assembly Member of the Year and Woman of the Year for the Greater Conejo Valley Chamber of Commerce. She currently represents our 44th Assembly District, which includes Camarillo, Moore Park, Oxnard, my home city of Port Hueneme, Thousand Oaks, and Westlake Village. And she's here to talk to us about the district's COVID response and the antibody testing project. So with absolutely no further ado, let's welcome Jackie Irwin.
Oh, thank you very much, Jason, for that introduction. And it's always so good to see my favorite Rotary Club. I do miss all of you. And it's really nice that Joel has joined the gang. And I'm very impressed with the way you run these meetings. I had no idea that you could do polling. So kudos to all of you for keeping this going during this difficult time. And yes, it's been a tough year for everybody. We're now collectively facing COVID-19, an economic recession, public demonstrations demanding change, historic heat waves, and wildfires all at the same time. I grew up in Woodland Hills, and it set the record for a multi-county area. I think it was 122 there. So really crazy times. My office and I have been working closely with our community during these times, regularly speaking to constituents, local residents, businesses, owners, nonprofits, and city managers. And we've been focused on trying to help everybody and problem solving by listening and having conversations with our local leaders to better understand the community's needs. And my office has done a great job in trying to address some of the needs that have come up over during this time. My team in the district office, and Nancy is in the call, but I've got a whole great team there. They kicked into overdrive with constituent services in order to meet the needs of our residents. We've helped residents with a real diverse array of issues ranging from travel insurance cancellations to navigating the DMV through this pandemic to accessing a bank safety box. It seems like every day something new and unique comes up for our district staff to tackle. And I will remind all of you that we are there to help. Nancy can put our office number in the chat box, and please call us if you have any issues. One area that we've been especially active in is assisting constituents with EDD and unemployment insurance. So far, EDD reports processing a total of 11.9 million claims for unemployment insurance and pandemic unemployment assistance. Our office has been fielding calls regarding EDD since March, and it's beyond frustrating at times due to severe staff shortages and trouble processing claims. But we do have a contact now, an EDD liaison, who can provide answers to constituents who are having problems with EDD, and so we're seeing problems being solved more quickly. The $600 weekly unemployment benefits expired last month, and California has been approved for 3 additional weeks of an extra $300 of payments, and we're going to have to see if the feds step up with more than that. Our local businesses have been heavily impacted by the pandemic and stay-at-home orders. We've faced many losses and have had to make countless difficult decisions to keep businesses afloat. So I'm sure most of you know about the federal programs enacted by the CARES Act and the HEROES Act, and they've helped cushion the blow in some respects for workers and employers, but they have been headache-inducing at the same time. And I'm thankful for the actions of our local government and for organizations like EDCVC, which are helping businesses navigate this unprecedented time and to alleviate some of the impacts from COVID-19. The Paycheck Protection Program, of which many people, many businesses received benefit from, and the Economic Injury Disaster Loans are just a few of the issues where small businesses can receive guidance from EDC. In Ventura County, we look out for each other, and the work of our charitable organizations has been admirable and have made it's been made possible by the generosity of our community members. For example, the work of Food Share and Senior Concerns and other nonprofits has been extraordinary and inspiring. They've collectively distributed well over 1 million meals and fresh produce to residents in need. And it's acts like this that make me proud to represent this area. Our office has also been working to meet other challenges with COVID-19. We held 16 total town halls in English and Spanish and brought together local officials and medical professionals. They were a big hit. We had over 400 people on average listening to those calls. We organized blood drives, and we partnered with the Community Foundation for a PPE drive. As many of you remember, at the beginning of COVID, our frontline essential workers were short on PPE. And we partnered with United Way and Gold Coast Veterans to help house homeless veterans through this pandemic while working to find permanent housing solutions. So what I really was going to go a little bit more deeply into is the antibody testing that we have been doing in the county. So very near the beginning of the pandemic, I realized that it was really important to look at how are people going to get through this, and to understand how antibodies work and how long they are providing protection. So I called Vanessa from the Community Foundation and Eric Wendt from Matter Labs, and we started working on getting antibody tests into the county, and it ended up with a huge group of people participating. Oxnard Fire Department had started doing testing also. And so we all combined forces to work on testing the population in Ventura County. We use the Abbott antibody test, and there have been a lot of questions on how long immunity lasts and how many people in our community actually have immunity. So we had a 2-week period where we intensively tested the county. We had one site in Thousand Oaks and sites throughout every city in the county. And overall in that 2-week period and then additional testing, we have tested about 14,000 people. And this is going to be part of a UCLA, CLU, and UC Irvine study. And what we found was that in Ventura County right now, the antibody prevalence is about 1%. For Latinos, it's about 2%. And for Blacks, it's about 3%. And the disturbing thing about those numbers is that even if antibodies last a long time, that you are looking at a population that's still 98 to 99% vulnerable to COVID. So it just makes finding a vaccine that much more critical. We also tested more, over-tested at a couple of senior facilities. We went to the reserve, and we had 19 people test positive for antibodies there. As you probably heard, there was an outbreak. And we over-tested farm workers and low-income Latinos too. Those are groups that had not necessarily been tested in California. And then the second thing we're doing is a longitudinal test where where people that test positive have volunteered to come in monthly or so and get retested. And we just did our first retesting, and it was approximately a month after most people were drawn, and most are still showing very good high antibody response, but slightly lowered from the month before. So there is hope that that antibodies are potentially a way to protect our population. And a lot of that information is going to be published. So it's really exciting to be a part of that. Just finished up in Sacramento last week, and I have to say it was the most chaotic thing I have experienced in the legislature. We started in January, we were sent home in March, we came back, we were sent home again. So it was a really shortened and intense session, and a lot of bills were dropped, and a lot of them were in the last few moments, didn't get over the finish line, which probably ended up being a good thing, because there were a lot of bills that hadn't been very thoroughly thought out, because we didn't hold very many committee meetings, and we had to be socially distanced, and we were talking to people about the bills via Zoom. So it was a really difficult session. But it's probably not, as I mentioned, probably not completely bad that some of the bills didn't get through. So For example, one of the bills that's really been in the news was a bill that would basically get rid of single family zoning in cities, and it would allow subdivisions with only city administrative approval and up to 2 subdivisions, so that a single family lot could actually have 4 homes on it. And that bill just plain old ran out of time at 2 minutes to midnight. It'll be coming up again, but my concern was that it wasn't thoroughly vetted, and the cities were very much opposed to it because it was basically taking away all local control, and general plans would be somewhat meaningless. We also have tough choices to make in this year's budget. But fortunately, the state has accumulated a significant rainy day fund that was approved by the voters a number of years ago. There was about $20 billion in there. And so we're much better situated this time around compared to the 2008 recession. The budget that the legislature adopted avoids many of the cuts, but we might have to come back later if the federal money that we're counting on does not come in. So I'm still hoping to be bailed out. But the good news is that tax returns have exceeded projections. And so hopefully if we get some federal money, and if those tax returns, if the money from our businesses and citizens keeps coming in, we might be able to avoid real deep cuts. And as always, protecting K through 12 education is my primary goal. And then just I'll just run really quickly over a couple of other bills that might be of interest, and hopefully you have some questions after about the ones that you really care about. A lot of you have heard about AB 5, and that is basically trying to clarify who can be classified as an independent contractor and who needs to be classified as an employee. The author of AB 5 carried legislation again this year to provide new exemptions for workers that had not been exempted last year. So workers in performing arts, media, music industry, and the newspaper industry have now been exempted from AB 5. So AB 5 was necessary because there was a Supreme Court decision that moved from an old complicated formula to a new ABC test. And unfortunately, the bill has just become really quite a mess, and it's just a bill of exemptions. So on November's ballot, you're going to have a chance to vote on one group that wants to be carved out of AB 5, and that's the rideshare and food delivery companies. And I encourage you to read all the ballot statements and really research to see where you want to go on that, and the many other complicated issues that are going to be on the ballot. On the last day of Deborah was talking a little bit about some of the protections that for homeowners and for landlords. On the last day of session, I voted in favor of AB 3088, which was a big compromise bill, and it basically protects tenants facing financial hardship due to COVID-19 and allows them to remain in their homes through the end of January 2021. And it also extends the foreclosure protections contained in the Homeowners Bill of Rights to cover small landlords and creates a mechanism to recover unpaid rent. That legislation has been already immediately signed by the governor, and I know it provided relief to many families in our community who were very nervous about the beginning of the month. And as I stated, it was a compromise between many stakeholder groups, the governor and the legislature, and nobody is completely happy about it, but it was the best we could do for right now. I continue to fight for disaster victims who lost their homes or businesses to wildfires in the recent years and wish to rebuild on the original site. Right now, if you rebuild on the original site, your house gets reassessed. If you rebuild someplace else, your house doesn't get reassessed. You get to keep the same property tax basis. So AB 2013 would create parity on that. And you've heard a lot about plastic pollution and what we really need to do to deal with that issue. They've found plastic particles up in the North Pole and in in the oceans, and it's a tremendous problem. So I have a bill that I did with a colleague of mine from San Francisco, and it calls for manufacturers to increase the minimum recycled content in their plastic beverage bottles. There's been a 5-year effort to get this bill passed, and we were able to work with all stakeholders, make sure there were off ramps, and ended up being able to get that bill through the legislature with no registered opposition. And that would basically require all bottles to be 50% recycled material by 2030. Which happens to be the most aggressive recycled content mandate, not only in the United States, but in the world. So hope the governor does sign that. And I'm going to, I'm the chair of the Veterans Committee, and I had a bill this year to allow voters to continue to support the Veterans Housing and Homeless Prevention Program. Unfortunately, the governor did not want it on the ballot this year, but I'm going to continue to fight to make sure that none of our veterans end up homeless on the streets. That program has been very successful and is going to be running out of money next in 3 years. In my year serving Ventura County as a council member, mayor, and now assembly member, I've seen time and time again how we come together after tough circumstances. After the wildfires, we came together as a community to rebuild our homes and livelihoods. After the borderline mass shooting in 2018, we came together as a community to mourn and strengthen our laws to prevent future acts of violence. And now Ventura County has come together to donate PPE to the doctors and nurses at the front lines of the pandemic. We've come together to donate blood and support our local businesses and nonprofits. We are resilient. We can do hard things. Our community has done it before, and we can do it again. So by coming together, we will get through the pandemic, recession, and the current wave of civil rights movements. And just want to thank everybody for inviting me to speak today, and remind you to fill out your census form. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jackie. Greatly appreciated. We have some time, if Jackie does, to take some questions. We're not really taking questions about the election, but if you have questions about legislation or COVID or any of those issues, that would be terrific. I see Felix is up first.
Thank you, Dave. Good to see you again, Jackie.
Hi, Felix.
We don't see you very often.
Neither does my husband.
You mentioned something about Prop 50. I think it's 50, the one that gets rid of residential zoning.
Yeah, it's not Prop 50. I actually, it's in AB, but no, in SB. Yeah.
All right. The thing is that I remember is that this has been up there 3 times already. This is the 3rd time that they've knocked it down. Who's behind this thing to keep pushing it?
So I don't know. This is not something on the ballot. This is actually was 3 minutes from passing. I mean, so it wouldn't have even gone on the ballot. It would have just been, it would have just passed. It is an initiative by the pro tem, so the person leading the Senate, Tony Atkins, and a lot of these housing groups think that if we allow this higher density in single family neighborhoods, that we can solve our housing crisis. And it was a very interesting argument on the floor, because on the one hand you have, like, I didn't support it because I think that this should be controlled by the locals. I think that that's why we have a city council, that's why we have a general plan. But you have a lot of legislators that don't trust the locals to build the amount of housing that we need. And it was interesting, as I mentioned, that both sides ended up calling each other racist over this. So the one side that said, if you're voting no on it, you just don't want these predominantly white neighborhoods to end up having higher density and potentially have more lower income people move in. But on the other hand, we had a Black assembly member that was saying it was racist in the opposite direction because 50% of Blacks own homes, and that has been a way that they can accumulate wealth. And those are the first neighborhoods where you have homes that are a little bit less expensive that would probably have to deal with these subdivisions. And it's somewhat the same in our community, in the community that I represent, that the first place that this would happen is where there are lower income homes. So you have areas like Oxnard or Hueneme that are already seeing ADUs being built everywhere that are already fairly crowded, that are now going to be more crowded and maybe don't have the room for the infrastructure. There might not be enough water. So before anything like that moves to Thousand Oaks, it'll probably be decades down the road. So I just think needed a much longer discussion. And like I said, it wasn't necessarily a bad thing that it was total chaos on the last day and it didn't get through.
Well, I won't be here if it ever goes through, but I think it's the worst thing that I've ever heard, because what I've heard, and I haven't heard a lot of it, but the fact is that if you get rid of the title residential zoning, that means anything. I can get a McDonald's next door to me, or get a blacksmith shop, you name it.
Yeah, it was only for housing. So it's
that, but the zoning of housing would go away.
Right.
And if it goes away, that means anything can come in.
I think the local government wants to control how they design their own community, and those are elected officials and representing their constituents, hopefully, and so. But up in the legislature, they have a real focus on the cost of housing, and so we obviously do need more housing. It's just an issue that I think needs to be dealt with on a city by city and county by county basis.
I could go on with this, but thanks for your response. That's a good one.
All right, Bob, I think you have your hand up if you want to unmute.
I do. Hi, Jackie. It's good to see you.
Hi,
Bob. I happen to be on the board of directors of the Gold Coast Veterans Foundation. And as you probably know, we've been heavily involved in helping get homeless vets off the street. But we have now developed a very unique veterans village concept, primarily to help the veterans with PTSD. And we have a private donor who is going to heavily fund this. And I just approved yesterday a contract with an architect to start the design. My question is, I recognize you're with the state. We're going to be working with Ventura County. But as we get this further refined, would you like to have someone come do a presentation so you're up to date on what we're working on doing?
Oh, absolutely. And so Nancy's on this call, and when I'm not in town, she handles all the veteran issues. But we have made an impact on the number of homeless vets because there's been so many resources dedicated to that. And but to get the last few off the street and to really deal with a lot of the PTSD type issues that they're dealing with, it's going to take a multitude of different type of services and housing options. And so I commend you for doing that.
One of the things, just without going on about it, but one of the things that's come up that very honestly I'd never even thought about is that some of the people with heavy PTSD physically can't stand being inside a wall. They just can't do it. And so we're coming up with about a 15-acre concept that we'll have with counseling. I'll have transition areas from tents to mobile to RVs to mobile homes as we try to get them away from the problems they have of being surrounded by walls, which is what puts a lot of them on the street. So we'll see where we can go with this.
Bob, where is that 15 acres?
We're still working on that. We've got it identified, but it's a company. It's in the county. I can talk to you offline about it. They're in a bankruptcy situation, so that means as part of our proceeding with that site, we've got to deal with a bankruptcy judge. So we're also identifying other sites, but I can talk to you about
Yeah,
offline.
that sounds good.
But it is in the county in the Oxnard area.
Yeah, it sounds like it has some great potential. So I'd love to talk to you about it.
Okay, thanks, Jackie.
I see our past president is on the line and has a question. So Herb, good to see you. And what's your question for Jackie?
Oh,
Yeah.
nice to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you, Jackie. And it is the season, politics. Couple of real quickies. In the propositions 24, which would enhance the privacy, do we really need a state agency? And then the second question would be, I've just been through the split rails 15, and boy, the small print is interesting. I wanted you to comment on how you feel about
Wait,
15.
split roll you're talking about?
Yeah, split rolls.
The third rail?
Yeah, the third rail. Mhm.
So the privacy initiative is, I mean, there's a whole background to that. We passed CCPA, it had a whole bunch of problems. And one of the person that is the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, I will not mention by name, but she did not allow a lot of fixes through. And so the millionaire that basically forced us to pass CCPA wanted a bill that does some fixes, but then he also added this agency. It's going to be very, very expensive, and so it's an interesting coalition that's going to be against it, from the real pro privacy people all the way to the people that think CCPA needs to be fixed because it's not it's really going to hurt our small businesses. So nobody likes it. Nobody is really, and nobody that knows what's going on is in favor of it. But I think that Americans or Californians, when they see anything that says privacy, they say, yeah, I want more privacy, without realizing the problematic nature of it. So I don't know how much money the coalition against it is going to spend, but when you have the FAR, you have the ACLU not liking it, and you have Google not liking it, then you're probably in trouble. Split roll, that is, we had Prop 13 on the ballot in the primary, and it was just a bond issue, and it died because people thought it was actually the real Prop 13. I think when constituents understand that this is taking away some of the Prop 13 protections, initially, I don't think they're going to go for it. What's a lot of the groups are that want more state funding they're going to say is it just affects big corporations. The problem is that it's affecting buildings that have businesses that are already suffering, and you can't think that if you increase the property tax of the place where Ralph's is, that the prices aren't going to go up. And so I hope that, people, on the one hand, do you want government to have more money for education? Yes, that would, or local government. Yes, that's a positive thing. On the other hand, it does affect everybody. Everybody's going to be paying higher costs. And we don't know what the final nail in the coffin is going to be for a lot of our small businesses. If their rent is doubled because Prop 13, because split roll passed, then are they going to survive? They're already struggling. So I would say that one has a hard fight, but it's going to depend on who puts the most money in to fight it.
And there is a lot of money going in. Thank you.
There is a lot of money going in. Exactly.
Yeah.
The one right now that has the most money going in, though, is the AB5 issue with the with Uber and Lyft saying they can't afford to change all. They want to give their employees flexibility. They want to give them higher, make sure they have a higher minimum wage, but they can't afford to. Their model doesn't work out if their workers have to be classified as employees. And so I think most people do want to make sure that their drivers are making plenty of money. But I think when push comes to shove and reality sets in, that it's possible that these companies will leave the state, or at least stop in areas where they don't make as much money. So small cities and lower socioeconomic areas might end up with no rideshare companies there. So that's going to be a tough one also.
Yeah, thank you.
We have time. If anybody has a final question for Jackie, we can take one more. Looks like Chris, you have your hand up, so go ahead. You can unmute and. There you go.
Hi, Jackie. How are you?
Hi, Chris.
Good to see you. Regarding that AB5, did you say that there's exemptions in place now for like the entertainment industry and some of that? Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, so AB5 passed last year, and there were a number of exemptions in it, like for physicians. So, I would say there were probably 20 or 30 exemptions. A second bill passed this year with additional exemptions, and it is entertainment and music. Now, it's still not completely, it still does not help them completely, but there is some assistance. Like, for freelance writers, they only were able to have 35 articles before they had to be made employees. It's a really, really difficult issue, and there are certainly workers that have been misclassified, but I don't think it really took into account what our current economy looks like and how many people are choosing to be freelancers. And it has turned into quite a mess. I don't think it's good to do legislation with exemptions. So your specific question on entertainment, just send a little message to either me or to my staff, and we'll look up if you have a specific interest in what has been exempted. I will say the other thing is that we had a working group trying to get additional exemptions in, or more broad exemptions that made sense. Professional exemptions. Should professionals really have to be classified as employees if they would rather be independent contractors and be able to write things off? So we were looking at if they were exempt, and professional, to try to limit them. Unfortunately, with the way the legislature is set up, everything is run by, a few people. There's roadblocks, and we have one roadblock, which is the author of the bill, and she's in charge of a committee called Appropriations, which can kill any bill. And so we probably had 20 AB5 fixed bills that were killed by her. And so it's been extremely frustrating that we can't have a larger discussion.
All right. Jackie, thank you so much for being here, for your time. We appreciate you so much, and for being a former member of our club and coming back. We hope you'll come back more often. So thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. I want to thank our greeters today, which is Karen and Jeff and Monica. Guest introductions by Karen. Happy Dollars, Chris Steele. Notes were taken by Nancy. Inspirational and pledge today was who did inspiration and pledge?
I did it backwards, Chris.
There we go, Chris, yes, Chris. And then song was provided by Fred. Fine session by Ian. Fun time, Pat McCoy helped us out even though he was an abstentia. And again, thanks for Jackie being here. So just remember this as we're closing off today. People who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who actually do. So let's go out there and change the world, Rotarians. And that's all we have for September 10th, 2020. Look forward to seeing you soon. Have a great rest of the week. Thank you.